Good morning. Uh, Thank you all for being here. And I'm Brijesh Kalapa. You may have seen me over the last few days. And we are doing a series of press conferences. And today we are very fortunate to have Mr. Manish Tewari, former Information and Broadcasting Minister, very senior MP. And he has been in every party organization position, the NSUI, Congress, the Youth Congress, in every position. And therefore, we're very fortunate to have him today in Kerala. And along with me is Mr. Gautam, who's also a colleague of mine, Mr. Maripuram, Sri Kumar, and Mr. Suresh are also accompanying us today. Thank you very much for being here.
My colleagues on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, it's always a very tough act to follow the very senior, very experienced, very knowledgeable and profound Mr. A.K. Antony, who I had the privilege of serving with in the Council of Ministers, and I have had the honor of knowing him as a senior colleague over the past 45 years. I'll keep my remarks very brief and essentially focused on the very volatile and fast developing situation in West Asia, which is of concern to everybody around the world, but more so to the people of Keralam, given that we have a sizable diaspora in the greater Middle East and across West Asia. Essentially, nations do not perish because of war. Nations perish because of silence. And that is why the silence of the government of India and even the silence of the usually very voluble left is extremely deafening. India's foreign policy was born out of a struggle against imperialism, against colonialism, against fascism, against Nazism. It was the outcome of a unique non-violent struggle when between 1914 and 1945, people had died in two world wars. And the destructive potential of the atom was first unleashed on the world. Out of that crucible was born the policy of non-alignment. When the nations of Africa, Asia, South and Latin America, who were liberating themselves from the yoke of colonialism and imperialism, were really looking for a third way. And that third way was conceptualized by Prime Minister Nehru in the form of non-alignment and later fleshed out by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi when she added self-reliance to it in the middle 60s. Therefore, there are a couple of very disturbing questions which the silence of the government of India and even the silence of the left raises with regard to Indian foreign policy. Should India The first question is, should India be accepting regime change by coercive means? And the answer clearly is no. But should this not be articulated very clearly and vociferously? The second question is that should India be accepting the targeted assassination of leaders and functionaries, not only targeted assassinations but abductions of leaders and functionaries of various sovereign nations in different geographies of the world? The answer is no. The question is, why is the government of India not really speaking up on this? The third question is that should India not have condoled the targeted assassination of the head of a state of a country and innocent children in a Tomahawk missile strike which was called out by none other than the New York Times? The answer is yes. Why is the government of India silent on it? The fourth question is that should the Prime Minister have visited Israel 2 days before the joint Israeli-US attack on Iran, given that the build-up in the Middle East was very, very apparent, and we have huge human security, energy security, food security interests in West Asia. So therefore, since the 7th of March 2026, we have been demanding a discussion on these issues in Parliament. Repeatedly, the Business Advisory Committee, despite promising a discussion, or the government and the Business Advisory Committee promising a discussion, they have continuously reneged on their commitment. And what is intriguing is that the left front, which usually has been most voluble and very, very vociferous on questions of international relations, especially because they believe that they come out of the struggle against anti-imperialist solidarity. Why has the left been absolutely so quiet about it? There is a serious energy crisis in the country. The Straits of Hormuz have now been closed for the past 4 weeks. With the Houthis joining the battle, the threat to the Straits of Bab al-Mandab is also real. So, therefore, we need to know from the government, both the central government and the state government, what is their plan with regard to India's energy security. And let me give you some numbers, very interesting numbers. 16th of May 2004, when the UPA government took office, the price of petrol was 45 rupees and 15 paisa, broadly across the country. On 16th of May 2014, when we demitted office after 10 years in government, it was 58 rupees and 58 paisa, an increase of only 13 rupees in 10 years. On the 30th of March 2026, the price of petrol and the price of diesel is at an all-time high. Similarly, if you look at how the dollar has moved against the rupee, it follows the same kind of trajectory. For every $10 increase in the price of crude oil, there you add 10 or 15 billion dollars to your import. And the price of crude oil alone, between February and March of 2026 has gone up by almost $60 per barrel. What is the plan of the government to mitigate it? Similarly, LPG, we import 54% of our LPG from mostly the Gulf states. Today in Kerala, LPG cylinders are unavailable. There is a 30-day waiting, 45-day waiting. There's a rampant black market. What is the state government doing in order to ensure that in these scarce times, LPG cylinders are available to people? What is the broader plan which the government of India has if this crisis continues for another month or even more than that? But the biggest problem is fertilizer. We import 49% of our nitrogen-based fertilizer from only 6 countries: Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and 3 more countries in the broader Persian Gulf, including Iran, and 2 more countries. Now, with ships not transiting the Straits of Hormuz, what is the plan that the government has? Because nitrogen-based fertilizers form the bedrock of your food security in the agrarian sector all across the country. So, and then of course, we have a huge diaspora across all these countries. I think almost 48 lakh people from Kerala alone. What are the plans that the government has, or are there any contingency plans which are in place? The people of Keralam, the diaspora, and the country would like to know that. And the only answer of the government is dissimulation, obfuscation, and a complete denial कि सब ठीक है, everything is fine. But we need to go beyond that everything is fine. We are aware it's a complex situation, it's a volatile situation, it's an evolving situation, but the country needs answers, and especially those states. I come from a state which, like Keralam has a very huge diaspora in Punjab. So we are also equally worried. And last, I will close with just one observation. Recently, the FCRA amendment bill was tabled by the government and parliament. I opposed the introduction of the bill on behalf of the Indian National Congress because we believe that bill is draconian, it is authoritarian, it tramples and transgresses on the fundamental principles of law and natural justice. And I have seen that there is quite a lot of concern in many parts of the country, especially Keralam, with regard to the provisions of the bill. We would like to, on behalf of the Indian National Congress, assure people who have apprehensions that when the bill comes up for discussion in Parliament, it will be strongly opposed by the Indian National Congress and the other opposition parties, and it will be our endeavor to see that it is referred to a joint parliamentary committee or a select committee or the parliamentary standing committee of the Ministry of Home Affairs, so that there can be a threadbare discussion with regard to the provisions of this bill. Thank you very much for your time and patience. If there are any questions, I would be more than happy to take them. Look, the letter of the law is not a majority-minority issue. The fundamental thing is the law equitable? Is it fair? Is it just? Does it, is it in consonance with the basic principles of natural justice? So when we look at a law, whether in court or outside, my colleague Mr. Kalappa also is a very eminent lawyer, we look at it on the first principles of jurisprudence. On the first principles of jurisprudence, this bill is completely flawed. This amendment bill should not have been brought in the first place. And that is why I had opposed the introduction of this bill. I had requested the government that the bill should be taken back. They insisted on introducing it. We will take it up when it comes up for discussion, because there are very genuine apprehensions which have been flagged and they need to be articulated, and the Indian National Congress would do that.
But BJP leaders in Kerala, they are claiming that it will after 10 minutes success also. It is support with affordable.
Look, ultimately, as I said, there is the law of it, there is the politics of it. And when I look at a law or a bill, I first examine it from the point of view that does it square up on principles of jurisprudence, principles of natural justice? And when I find that a legislation is flawed on those basic principles, then that legislation obviously needs to be amended. And that is what our endeavor would be, that when the discussion takes place in Parliament, it should go to the Standing Committee of the Ministry of Home Affairs or a joint parliamentary committee, so that each provision can be examined threadbare. The stakeholders can be called, they can put their apprehensions, objections, suggestions, amendments on record, and after a complete threadbare discussion, then only should that bill be passed in Parliament. Well, first of all, it has to become law before it can be challenged in court. So that we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. We still have a parliamentary fight ahead of us.
Anybody else?
Regarding the politics of this bill, BJP has been trying hard for the Muslim outreach in Kerala. So in this election, do you think this will have a political impact on BJP's prospects in this bill?
See, ultimately, any legislation which is fundamentally flawed should be opposed by all right-thinking people. So, therefore, it is not a minority-majority issue. You know, there could be the usual suspects who practice the politics of polarization and who have these nefarious and divisive agendas to try and perpetuate. They would continue to do whatever mischief they have been doing. But ultimately it boils down to the fact that this is a bill not in consonance with the fundamental principles of natural justice. You see, like for example, the vesting of property. right, in a tribunal and the disposal of that property by a tribunal. Now this hits Article 300A. 300A gives you a statutory right, a constitutional right to property. It may not be a fundamental right, but it is a constitutional right. Similarly, it is in violation of Articles 14, 15, 19, 21 of the Constitution of India. So on the touchstone of constitutionality, this bill doesn't measure up. Thank you very much.